Well, it's time for us now to analyze what really has been happening, and particularly with the focus of the ongoing Huduma Namba mass registration exercise. And now joining me in studio is political analyst Martin Andati, who will be putting into perspective some of the issues surrounding Huduma Namba and why really is the government keen on having every Kenyan register. Thank you, Martin, for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And welcome to News Check.
Thank you.
Well, let's begin with the one-week extension. A lot of suspicion around why we are registering for the Huduma Namba. But do you find it interesting that Kenyans are not queuing today like they were before the president extended the registration exercise?
Yeah, you know, most Kenyans wait up to the last minute. And once they realize now there is time, you can see the queues have vanished.
They've gone again.
What former CEO of Safaricom used to call the unique Kenyan behavior. When everybody wants to call, they all call at the same time. And at certain times, you find there's nobody calling. So it's the same thing. When there is time to do stuff, people don't want to do it. But you know, the challenge has been the government communication. It was not very well done because there are still issues, a lot of gray areas. Nobody has come out to tell Kenyans why they need a Huduma Namba. And there's a lot of mischief. People are suspecting that the government could be up to some mischief because they are asking, well, you know, people who do IT will tell you that if you want to integrate the systems, because the government's argument has been that they want to integrate the various systems, you don't need to do a fresh registration. Because, you know, like the IEBC already has the details. If you are a registered voter, you have all your details at the IEBC. So
is there a way perhaps they would have done it, you know, differently to eliminate the level of suspicion that we are seeing?
The communication, they needed to get more. They got a few of the government functionaries getting into the media houses to try and pass on the information. But I don't think it was well done as it should have been. You know, like you people are a national broadcaster with almost all stations, FM stations.
Yes.
You actually have the largest in almost all the languages.
Yes.
So they would have taken advantage of that so that you bring in people who speak those particular languages to go and explain to Kenyans what Huduma Namba is and why they need to register. But I don't think that was very well done. You got a few of the top-notch. I saw the PS, the CS in a few of the radio and TV stations.
Yes.
Then they put small adverts which were not explaining fully why Kenyans need a Huduma Namba. But you know, in most of the developed countries, even the US, they have what is called the social security number. So you just have one number, and on that card, you are able to, if you want to get like the NHIF, you get it there. If you want to do the rest of the stuff, the passport, the PIN, and all those things, they are all integrated. So basically, the Huduma Namba is supposed to be an integration of all the documents that one would need.
Yeah. But if you look at, you know, when they launched the exercise in itself, the initial day, we saw, you know, the president, the leader of opposition, we saw opposition leaders, all of them, you know, just sort of coming together and trying to empower Kenyans to go for the voter registration exercise. What do you make of that, you know, initiative by government to try and make it appear like something that they're doing it for our own good?
They wanted to make it look like it has acceptance across the board. But, you know, having political acceptance and having the general populace buy-in are two different issues. You know, if you get the political leaders on board, and of course, you forgot to mention that the DP didn't participate. Of course, he created an excuse. He participated much later. Yes. But on the particular day when the rest of the guys were all over, he was not there. He had some other commitments. That's what he said. So it would have made more sense to get Kenyans to buy in and educate the people more so that people understand what exactly it is. The civil society groups have been very reluctant. And, you know, they even went to court and got orders that it's not mandatory because they were not involved. So the issues of public participation were not there. And, you know, the Constitution now strongly talks about public participation.
Yes.
Two, the safety of the data. You know, initially there was even propaganda that they will ask for your DNA. Of course, they don't ask for DNA. When I went to register, I didn't see anybody asking for my
your
DNA anyway.
So you have already registered
Yeah, I've
yourself.
registered.
Yes.
So, some of the questions they're asking, they are not really necessary because they will still ask those questions when they are doing the census in August. Because we are going to have a census in August. And they will move around in the houses and ask those same questions. So why would we not have utilized the opportunity of the census to get all this info so that we save on money? Because the census will put in close to 20 billion. Now you're spending another 6 billion here, and yet all this money is borrowed.
But now the fact that, the court say that this mass registration process is not a must during this particular period, I mean, don't you think that perhaps you swept the feet under the rug of the government in terms of saying everybody must register, then perhaps they could have used it as part of the census?
Yeah, they had initially said it's mandatory, that if you don't register, you will not be able to access certain government services.
Yes.
So a few people in the civil society went to court and got orders. And the court said that it's not mandatory, and the info should not be shared with people who are not supposed to access it. So that's why I've told you, the government needed to engage more. They needed to explain the issues in a language that people can understand and involve even the civil society. Because, data makes it easy when you are planning. And it is easy. If you do, for those of us who play, like me, I'm a land surveyor, you need information. When you do mapping, you need coordinates, you need all that. Of course, like in this one, they are not taking GPS coordinates.
Yes.
But in future, you will need to have the GPS coordinates of almost all these other properties. So it becomes very easy when you are doing planning, when you are doing mapping and all that. So that is where ultimately we need to go. But you need to sensitize people. People must buy in and know why you need to do you are doing certain things the way you are doing them.
But even as we talk about this particular process and the secrecy, the concerns that Kenyans have in terms of the protection of the data. How safe is the data? Because there are those who are already claiming that already there's someone who has hacked into the Huduma Namba and their data is now exposed. So how does the government get back to Kenyans and give them that guarantee that their data is safe?
They are the only ones who are supposed to guarantee the safety of the data. But issues of hacking have been all over. And it's not just happening even in Kenya alone. Even out there, you've seen the claims of the Russians interfering with the American electoral system. So, but the IT experts will tell you that you engage the cybersecurity people so that the data is protected. So they need to make sure that they have people who have expertise which will protect that data so that it doesn't land in the wrong hands. Yeah.
Okay.